singer-songwriter genre, and more exactly through the lens of an artist named Connie Converse. It's not her real name. Her real name is Elizabeth Converse, but when she moved to New York City around 1944, 45, she changed her name to Connie. I don't know why. There's a lot of mystery surrounding this woman and her music, and I think, especially what I found out in my research of the genre, it's more about the person and their voice than the music and the song. So I'm just gonna start with one of her most, none of her stuff is really famous, but her most well-known song is the first track off her album. It's called Two Tall Mountains. And I do not play guitar, I'm not a string player, so this is my first attempt really playing a song from beginning to end on the guitar. So I might have to stop a couple times, but I'm sure you'll be fine with that. Also, the song is very oddly structured, so wait until I stop playing to clap, because I know you're going to be clapping a lot. Done! This is Two Tall Mountains. Between two tall mountains, there's a place they call lonesome. Don't see why they call it lonesome. I'm never lonesome when I go there. See that bird sitting on my windowsill while he's singing whippoorwill all the night through. See that brook running by my kitchen door. Well, they wouldn't talk no more if it was you. Up in that tree, there's sort of a squirrel thing. Sounds just like we did when we were quarreling. In the yard, I keep a pig or two. They stop in for dinner like you used to do. I don't stand in the need of company with everything I see, talking like you. See that bird sitting on my windowsill while he's singing whippoorwill all the night through. Up in that tree, there's sort of a squirrel thing. Sounds just like we did when we were quarreling. You may think you left me all alone, but I can hear you talk without a telephone. I don't stand in the need of company, oh, with everything I see, talking like you. See that bird sitting on my windowsill while he's singing whippoorwill all the night through. I don't stand in need of company, oh, with everything I see, talking like you. See that bird sitting on my windowsill while he's singing whippoorwill all the night through. Just whippoorwill all the night through. Between two tall mountains, there's a place they call lonesome. Don't see why they call it lonesome. I'm never lonesome when I live there. Wanted to learn these songs. I'm thinking, okay, the texture's sparse. I can pick up a couple chords here and there. I'll just look online and figure out how to do it. Well, when I started to really listen, as we learned in here and started to write down the form, I thought, okay, I'm not going to take the tab just straight off your lyricsaz.com. I actually want to listen to it and write how I think it's going to happen. So I did that, and in the course of transcribing, I noticed that she uses a really weird picking style. And I can't use any sort of picking style, so that was incredibly hard for me. So I had to kind of teach myself how to pick the Connie way. What I was originally thinking was, well, I have to learn how to do standard picking. So I was looking in like guitar method books, and then I thought, this isn't learning through the experience. This is trying to grab some basics. So I learned her specific picking, which is now the only picking method I know how to do. And the song, as I studied it more and listened to it more, it seems really simple, but once you get into it, it's very weird. The form is weird, the chords she uses are weird, so what I'm thinking is that she did not look at a guitar method book and find what chord she was gonna make for this song. She picked it out herself with her own words. So I like that, and I think that's really a part of what we're learning in here is trying to rely less on the formalities and basics of music and instead getting your own voice in there, which is so important to the singer-songwriter genre. So now that I'm done torturing myself, I will go ahead and give a little bit of information on her. So this is Connie Converse. This is the cover of her album. She actually recorded about 40 tracks with a friend, and that's the album that we have. That's really all the music we have from this woman. So, there we go. Okay. So, singer-songwriters are musicians who write and perform their own material. We're really comfortable with this genre now because there's a ton of singer-songwriters out there, and this genre has been forming for decades. But during Connie's time, it didn't really exist. Now, there's kind of two paths. There's the mainstream singer-songwriter genre and Connie's path. So Connie moves to New York City in 1945. And at this point, we have a lot of early singer-songwriters that weren't formally a part of the genre. We have got people like Hank Williams and Ellie Ledbetter, and these people took the folk revival and started turning that into songwriting. Or like Leadbelly, he took gospel blues and turned it into songwriting. But Connie wasn't really doing a lot of that stuff. She was on a completely separate track. So, so she was performing for about almost 10 years before she really started to get noticed in her own local community. And so someone said, hey, let's record you, and so that's what she did. Her lyrics are so amazing, and the more that I went into this project, the more I started discovering things about her, and it added so much nuance to her music. She was incredibly intelligent, and people have said in interviews that her humor would transform a room. She could just kind of walk into a room and be like, and then drop something and then leave. Because she was also very strange as well. She didn't really give people the time of day if she didn't think it was necessary. And if I were to speculate wildly, maybe she had some form of autism. Because she tended to be highly intelligent, not much of a people person, yes and no answers she was described as giving. But what's not very autistic about her in this sense is that she didn't have a specialized knowledge in a lot of things. She had this incredible generalized knowledge. She was like a walking Wikipedia for everything. This guy, David Garland, actually led the reemergence of her music in 2004. And he's just describing here about there was just not the place for her voice just yet in the the early 50s when she was right in the thick of her career. She did perform on The Morning Show in 1954. She played To Tall Mountains, the piece I just played for you. And there are no videos from this, only stills. Yes, I tried to dig. And but the guy who took her and helped her do her recording, his son was there in the studio and was watching her perform, and he remembers having this moment of, we're gonna say we knew her when. Just watching someone perform and saying like, this is gonna be incredible. But the sad thing is nothing ever came of it. The early 1960s, we're starting to see singers, songwriters, get more popular, everybody starts moving into Greenwich Village. And we have Bob Dylan. Bob Dylan moves in 1961. He gets this huge mainstream success where Connie's been there for almost 10 years and she hasn't seen any. So at this point, she starts getting really disillusioned with the whole scene. She leaves. She goes back to live in Ann Arbor with her brother, and she left the music industry to go become a journal editor for like an educational journal with no college degree. No, that's how smart she was. She just kind of went into these professions. She also graduated valedictorian in her class and got a free scholarship to Mount Holyoke College. Was there for 2 years and then booked it to New York. So after she leaves New York, she goes to Ann Arbor to live near her brother. And in 1974, she has been writing all these letters to her friends and family. And in 1974, she writes that she needs to go away for a little while. She needs to go off by her own. She was drinking, smoking a lot, very, very unhappy. And as you explore the lyrics of her works, she's funny, she's bubbly, she's wry, she's compassionate, but she's so lonely. And that's so sad. And her brother and her family has even said, she never dated anyone. They weren't sure if she had any relationships. Her brother thought maybe she might have been gay, maybe she was asexual, maybe she just couldn't find someone to connect with. And I think that's probably one of the most tragic things about her story, is that she was able to produce this beautiful music, this haunting music, but it missed its mark in connecting with people. If you can't see this, it says, "Let me go, let me be if I can, let me not be if I can't. Human society fascinates me and awes me and fills me with grief and joy. I just can't find my place to plug into it." I think we've all had these feelings at some point in our life. So her brother describes her as a genius and a polymath. A polymath is someone who is highly skilled at a variety of things. So not only was she valedictorian of her class, she was a cartoonist. She was really involved in politics. It's reported that she may have been a part of the Communist Party, even though she tried to keep it under wraps to, so she wouldn't embarrass her family. She wrote political cartoons, sent them into journals. She was an editor of a journal. She had sketchbooks of art that was beautiful. And all of this stuff is in a filing cabinet that David Garland, the guy with the glasses, he has all of her works, all of her letters, and everything that she wrote down. So she leaves in 1974. She gives her brother enough money to pay her health insurance for the next 30 days. And she leaves with all of her stuff in her car, and they never hear from her again. And her album is titled "How Sad, How Lovely," which is, I think, a really good description of her life and her work. That's it. Do you guys have any questions?
Well,